Carpentry by NJT is based in the western suburbs and has many years of experience to assist you in sourcing any and all of your carpentry needs. Carpentry by NJT are great supporters of local soccer clubs in Melbourne's western suburbs, including ambitious State League One outfit Sydenham Park Soccer Club. Home Builders Corp, meanwhile, is a Melbourne-based construction company by the same owners with more than 15 years' experience. Home Builders Corp specialises in new homes and unit developments. With attention to detail, they work to the highest standard to satisfy their customers with a very quick turnaround. For further details about how either Carpentry by NJT or Home Builders Corp can help you, contact owner-manager Nick on 0410 576 018 or via email at nick@homebuilderscorp.com.au. Carpentry by NJT and Home Builders Corp are the proud major sponsors of the Football Out West show.
Good evening, folks, and a very, very warm welcome to you wherever you may be. Thank you for tuning in to episode 111 or season 5, episode 9 of the Football Out West show. My name is Tonchi Prusak, and right from the outset, it's an absolute pleasure to be with you for yet another huge Sunday night take on everything that has happened in Victorian football. And, well, I can't do it on my own, that's for sure. And it's such a big show. I'm going to need a ready and able co-host, and that co-host is none other than Steve Curtin. Good evening, Steve. Welcome to another episode of the Football Out West show.
Thanks, Tonchi. My pleasure. And where else would you want to be on a Sunday evening than just grinding away at the computer? But that's what we're doing, and we're talking football, so that's what's going to get us through it. But good to have your company again, everyone tuning in, and big thanks to the sponsors. We've got a lot of comments coming in already, Vesco and Vlad, and hello to Santino as well. But yeah, Tonchi, how's things with you?
Mate, it was a beautiful autumn day today, full of football action all around the country and certainly around the region. And, mate, it's such a big show, speaking of a lot of football action, that tonight, mate, we can't do it. We can't do it just me and you. It's such a big, big burden carrying this show. And we've got some killer guests tonight. I tell you what, that we need the services of the man himself. He's making a welcome return to the Football Out West show, the wild Welshman, Craig Filer. Good evening, Craig, and welcome back to the Football Hour show. It's great to have your company, mate.
Well, that's quite some introduction, Tom, so I'm not sure I deserve that. But yeah, hi guys, how are we all?
Take it in your stride, mate. Take it in your
stride.
Yeah,
absolutely. I don't get praise from him very often, so I'll take it in bucket loads. How are we all?
Oh, very good, mate. Very good.
Even better now to have the trio back together again. And, geez, you've had a decent weekend of football, mate. A bit of a good result on Friday. A couple of games in the commentary position up on the gantry yesterday and today. And you guys were together yesterday. What was it like in real life being together?
We worked it out. It was actually the first time this year that we've called a game in the NPL Victoria competition. And it was actually quite fun. It was quite enjoyable. The game itself wasn't. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. And Craig, you can tell us about some of the guests. But, man, we did well to extract a little bit of, I think, entertainment. I think we did that out of yesterday's game.
Anything else?
North Geelong Warriors.
It was a tough gig, Steve. Let me tell you, it was hard going for 90 minutes, but we got through it. A few beers last night certainly helped.
Yeah, that's right, mate. Let's talk about our guests for tonight. An all-star cast, Craig. Who have you got lined up for tonight's show?
Yeah, so NPL won big game, first versus second yesterday. I'm not sure. We spoke, Steve. You were going to the game. I'm not sure whether you managed to get there or not, but the big game in NPL 1 was
I'll talk about that.
Massive
as well.
game
yes.
at Avenger Park against Avenger Park, Avondale FC against Oakleigh Cannons. So we're going to get one of the star players for Avondale, ZANDER GUY, is going to be coming on and having a chat with us about the game yesterday and how he's settling into life there at Avenger Park. Then we'll cross over to regional Victoria, and we haven't done that for a couple of series, actually, and we're going to be speaking to the head coach of Golden Valley Suns, CARLEY, in his second stint as coach there, taking over the helm after the club got relegated last year. He'll come on and have a chat about everything that's going on up at Shepparton. And then we'll cross back over to MPL to speak to the interim coach of North Geelong Warriors, TOMI GAVRAN, who's going to come on and talk to us about the game last night.
Craig, it does seem like your volume is yo-yoing up and down, very much like today's Melbourne Knights game against Hume City, which you coached. And
he's just trying to replicate some of the yo-yo teams in NPL Victoria with that voice pattern, I think, is what he's trying to do, and he's doing it perfectly. So hopefully,
is that better?
That's good. There we go.
There you go.
It's good when you don't talk.
Technology and old people just doesn't work, does it?
No, it doesn't. But look, we got an all-star cast there. Now, believe it or not, that was Craig. That was TOMI GAVRAN's first win under his leadership at North Geelong, and it'll be interesting to find out if he's the interim coach or if he has been appointed the permanent coach. At North Geelong last week drew against Heidelberg. This week they recorded their first win under GAVRAN. So is the tide turning? We'll be discussing that and a lot more later on. We'll be taking a very, very quick look at the A-League women's game that was played earlier today. In fact, we might look at that in the news desk very, very shortly. But once again, big shout out to our sponsors, NJT Carpentry and Home Builders Core. If we get some time, we'll also look at the women's NPLW, Men's State League 1 competition, and most definitely we'll be looking at the NPL 2 competition as well, Craig. That is, what an interesting division that is. But boys, we've got a lot to get through. We're going to take a very, very short commercial break. When we return, folks, it's the news, and we'll be having a look at the A-League women's game that was held earlier today. Where else but up in Sydney? All right, don't go away.
At Goulburn Finance, like you, we are passionate about the western suburbs and football. Our main passion, however, is helping customers succeed in their financial goals. As trusted mortgage brokers, we offer knowledge, personalised service, and access to hundreds of loan products from Australia's leading lenders. If you're in the market for buying your first home, looking for a better interest rate on your mortgage, renovating your home, or buying an investment property, my team and I will help you manage the process from start to finish. Avoid costly mistakes and expensive loan products. Contact our office on 9369 6805 or 0425 826 055.
Welcome to Anytime Fitness in Werribee.
The club with the most supportive, welcoming and friendliest members and staff.
Whether you're a first-timer, gym goer or just an everyday person, we are here for you.
A recently renovated facility offers you everything you need to get started with your health and fitness goals.
Our club offers brand new state-of-the-art cardio equipment, an amazing functional zone for group classes, a lifting zone, and really does cater for every single person. So don't miss out. Come see us in club before April 30th to redeem this offer.
Welcome back, folks, to the Football Out West show. It is episode 111 and the news desk. Steve, over to you.
Thanks, Tonchi. Well, we'll have to kick off with, as you mentioned, the A-League Women's Grand Final that took place in Sydney. Unfortunately, not down here. We might have been doing a live show from outside the stadium right now, and maybe a home crowd might have seen a different result, having the fact that Western had earned the right to host that final. They didn't get to. They lost it 4-0, and full credit to Sydney FC, who've had a run of outs in grand finals losing a streak of them, they finally got their success today. So they claimed the double, the Premier's Plate, and the championship as well. And look, unfortunately, I was saying earlier, I was heading home from the MCG today, and I got held up on the train, and then got home, and then next thing you know, flick the TV on, it's already 2-0, and Madison Haley scored within 4 minutes. Nat Tobin sort of capitalised on a bit of an error, the central defender and captain, scoring with a header, and then it was one of the more dubious penalties I've ever seen awarded to Princess Abini for an incident with Stacey Papadopoulos that no one knew what was happening, or no one knew why it had been awarded, but it was a little bit of holding the wrist, I think was the referee's decision. So that gave Princess Abini another chance to get on the score sheet. So she got her goal in the grand final. And then Madison Haley, as you mentioned earlier, Craig, a good performance because she scored again in injury time as well to make it 4-0. So yeah, well done to Ansay, the coach up there of Sydney, and for all his work, and the players. They deserved winners on the night.
Yeah, look, I think so.
Great.
I think they've been there or thereabouts the last 4 or 5 years, haven't they? So probably just deserved a win. But you just mentioned that Madison Haley there. She's some player. I watched the highlights shortly before we came on air, and yeah, she's some player, isn't she?
Yeah, she got the job done, I think, in the previous final as well, when they got over Victory to make it to the grand final with that. I think she scored in the 89th minute as well against Victory after the dam wall finally burst after all that defending. So, yeah, she's had a good final series, clearly. And, yeah, looking forward to seeing how she develops as a player. But, yeah, both of the keepers were pretty busy in this one. Beale was pretty busy, making a lot of saves, smothering the ball. And, yeah, eventually she was having to pick it out of her net 4 times. And Jada Wyman as well is looking like maybe a smoky for the Matildas even as well from Sydney. So, yeah. The crowd figure, I think there was 9,000 got through the gates. Most of those tickets, I think, might have been given out for free, but
Freebies.
there was
Yep.
a healthy-ish crowd on the end. And Adam Goods was in there in a Western United jersey. So perhaps he could be someone that Western offer the number 1 ticket holder position to next season. He's decided to switch over and follow the better kind of football. I think he plays local football in Sydney in the Masters with Fozzie up there. So big football fan after being a Brownlow medalist in the oval ball game. So yeah, good to see. It would have been good to see some more home fans there, given it was a home game for Western. But you know, there's reasons why that's the case, and that's the situation. We'll go over and have a look at the men's as well, because the men's finals is kicking off next weekend, and we've got a couple of big ones. Friday night, Adelaide United hosting Wellington. I think they should get the win there. But the exciting one, the juicy one, I suppose, is Western Sydney Wanderers hosting Sydney FC on Saturday at 7:45. So for the first time ever, it's a Sydney derby in the finals. It hasn't happened. So this is going to be a big deal. Looking forward to seeing those two sets of
crowd
fans
there,
and players go at each other. It should be good.
There'd be a big crowd there, I would have thought as well.
You'd expect it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a kind of a dress rehearsal for the grand final up in Sydney. But look, 9,000 is not too bad. As you said, probably a lot of freebies. Maybe the Western Sydney fans were going to jump on board the Western United bandwagon. We don't know, I suppose. But look, regardless of the result, regardless of the outcome, regardless of where the grand final venue was held, and we know the controversy surrounding that. At the end of the day, they were the 2 top sides this year in A-League Women's, both the Sydney FC and Western United. And look, last week we had Mark Takaso on the show, and we spoke to him, Steve and I, quite a fair bit about that. And look, you just cannot deny the incredible achievement that Western United have done in their maiden season, their first season, and to get to the grand final. Absolutely. If we look at that post earlier today, it wasn't meant to be our today. Take nothing away from our season. We're so proud of you girls. We'll be back. Absolutely. That sums it up beautifully. It was just, Craig, a really good news story out of the A-League this year, which has really stuttered and stammered and really had its lows than highs, I guess, throughout the season. But that surely would have to be one of the stories of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Western United has its knockers, doesn't it, from many quarters about how they got their license in the first place and playing without a ground. But I think it shows that what the club are doing behind the scenes in readiness for when the ground does open, which, as we all know, is gathering pace quite quickly there now up in Tarn Eaton. you have to applaud everything that they're doing there, because they just seem to be doing it right on the field to a degree, and certainly off the field they're doing very well as well. So I suppose from a Western Suburbs point of view, long may it continue, and well done to Mark and all his team there, and Helen and the team there at Western United for a fantastic first season.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we probably should mention as well, last night over in Perth, the inaugural captain of the club from the men's side of things, Alessandro Diamanti, played his final game of his career, and what a long and successful career he had, as well as entertainer and someone who played the game with a smile on his face. And he was such a good ambassador for the club too. And I think it was fitting that they were able to finish the season with a win for him. It would have been more fitting if he had have fired in a left-footed free kick, but nonetheless, a Awini was substituted out in the 61st minute for James Troisi, and that was the end of his career, and chaired off after the game. I think also Nikolai Topper-Stanley as well, the record holder, finishing up his career as well. So
I think with that Alessandro Diamanti signing, Steve, some raised eyebrows were certainly had when they signed him, and he was coming here for the money and all that sort of stuff. But he's certainly been one of the best players that's graced the A-League over the years. When he was on form 2 seasons ago, he was untouchable, wasn't he? And it just shows the measure of the guy that he's still come, and he's still 36 years old, and still wanting to try and be the best he can. So again, another I suppose good, not so good news story coming out of Western United.
Yeah, look, we saw Melbourne victory yesterday. Once again, talking about stuttering and stammering, their last home game of the last game of the season. They'll be involved in there we go. Look at that, Brenton Ray. Just as I was about to mention that, he's already brought it up. The playoffs as well. Perth Glory taking on MacArthur. And then we'll also Melbourne Victory will taking on, I think it's Central Coast from memory or something like that, in the Australia Cup. Guys, just very, very quickly, because we've got our first guest in the green room and he's ready to come on, ZANDER GUY from Avondale FC. But Steve, maybe you first. We're obviously expecting a lot of players to be let go from pretty much all the teams, all the clubs, and Melbourne Victory especially. I wouldn't be surprised if Tony Popovic is no longer there come next season. Are we going to see another merry-go-round of players from different A-League clubs now just packing up and moving destination?
Yeah, well, I mean, without doubt, I've already heard a lot of talk about, particularly in the goalkeeper space. There's been, it's no secret that there's, Ollie Sales talked about heading to Perth Glory, and Western United might be losing both keepers as well to other clubs. I think Tom Glover's leaving, so there's a space there at City. There's a lot of movement just in that one position alone that I've heard of. So I'm sure that will be extended around the field. But it's the nature of these short-term contracts that clubs don't seem to be able to hold down players, and then they might want to get match minutes somewhere else. So I would highly anticipate that happening very much. So I'll be putting my house on it, Tunch.
Yeah, Craig, comments about that?
No, none at all. Right. Just very quickly.
Let's move on.
Just very quickly. I just want to I'm just going to pop something on the comment section here, and somebody brought it up earlier on about the horrific attack on a referee in New South Wales. I've just posted a copy of the video of the horrific attack on the referee, which left him with a broken jaw. I just don't know how this happens in football. I don't know how people get onto a ground and assault the referees in the way that this guy has, and I hope the police and the club and everybody around football find out who it was and do what they need to do to make sure that this type of thing doesn't happen on a football field.
No, absolutely not. We definitely don't need any of that sort of crap in our game. We've got enough of it as it is from within, and from time to time you get these type of things happening, and you watch the mainstream media just jump all over it.
Of course they will.
Yeah. Gents, anything else? Is that it, Steve? We might move on.
I just wanted to touch on, I think related to to Brenton's comment about supporters groups like the Cove looking like they're going to be boycotting the finals because of the grand final decision. There was a bit of news this week with the 100% independent, membership-based and democratic Football Supporters Association Australia coming out. They put a statement out on Friday about how they feel about the current state of the game following the professional game in Australia. So, there's a bit of space. There's a bit happening in that space as well. So I think they've got a Twitter account going, and they're seeking members, and interesting to see how that course goes. But it can only be a good thing that there is groups sticking up for the fans, because for obvious reasons. And I'll touch on as well at the grand final today as well, a lot of young kids seen in the crowd when the cameras were panning around. Obviously, a lot of tickets given out for free, but why not try and keep that happening going forward for every game?
Our man Brenton Ray says confirming a source that 8,500 tickets were given away. Freebies, I heard Ticketek confirm yesterday. Well, and if the overall crowd was 9,000 plus, well, you do your sums, folks. Anyway, there may be a lot of negativity around the A-League and the A-League women's at the moment, but there's a lot of positivity, I'll tell you what, happening around the NPL Victoria competition. And one of those definitely success stories of 2023 has been Avondale FC. We'll be speaking to one of their key protagonists, on-field protagonists, and that's Zander Guy, who'll be joining us shortly after this break. What a great story that is. They are at the moment just burning in the NPL Victoria competition. Folks, don't go away. It's episode 111, and when we come back, it's all NPL talk here on the Football Out West show.
Carpentry by NJT is based in the western suburbs and has many years of experience to assist you in sourcing any and all of your carpentry needs. Carpentry by NJT are great supporters of local soccer clubs in Melbourne's western suburbs, including ambitious State League One outfit Sydenham Park Soccer Club. Home Builders Corp, meanwhile, is a Melbourne-based construction company by the same owners with more than 15 years' experience. Home Builders Corp specialises in new homes and unit developments. With attention to detail, they work to the highest standard to satisfy their customers with a very quick turnaround. For further details about how either Carpentry by NJT or Home Builders Corp can help you, contact owner-manager Nick on 0410 576 018 or via email at nick@homebuilderscorp.com.au. Carpentry by NJT and Home Builders Corp are the proud major sponsors of the Football Out West show.
All right, welcome back to the Football Out West show, and a big thank you to our sponsors, Carpentry by NJT Corp, big to Nick, but I want to welcome our first guest of the evening. He's been waiting very patiently in the mini, someone who's made the switch from Churchill Reserve to off-season. That's a bit of a gift event in the eye, and we'll introduce the guy on the screen now on camera. Good evening, Zander, and thanks for being part of the Football Out West show, I think, for the first time. How does it feel to be on air on Sunday night?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Excellent.
Do you want to crack on, Steve, with the first question?
Who wants to go first? Sorry.
Come on, Steve, you go.
I'll just keep going. Yeah, I'll just keep going. A lot of hype in going into yesterday's game against the Oakleigh Cannons. How did you and the guys prepare for that one? It was obviously a 6-pointer at the top of the table, and you both wanted to get the 3 points, and both sides are in great form leading into it.
Yeah, it was a good win. Have to be very happy with the result. I think Oakleigh are a massive side in the NPL down here, and yeah, like you said, it's definitely a big 6-pointer. So just had to stick to our strengths in that one.
And how did obviously the record this season has been unbelievable. I think in the 10 games, I think you've scored 44 in 11 games, 44 goals, which is incredible at this level of football. And I think the next best is 22 or 23 goals. So what's the message coming from? We had Zazuki on the show last week, and he was trying to get making sure that you guys don't get carried away with things. But what's the message coming through from the club on a week-to-week basis? Because clearly you're doing something right there. As I said, there 27 goals. There's a big gap between some of the 30 plus 31 goal difference says it all. So what are the club doing that's different to perhaps past years?
Yeah, I think we have some very good players, which is always going to help. I think we have like a great base in defence, and then leading into a pretty awesome midfield, and then like up top we have a lot of good players. So it's hard to not create chances every game, and I think as long as you can take a couple of them, we've had some quite big score lines, and I think we just have some quality players in every position.
Zander, first of all, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on the show. But, mate, last year, and for the last few years, you've been at St Albans, so the perennial strugglers at the moment. And now you've gone to the other end of the table, Avondale FC, who always seem to be pushing up the top there. From a personal point of view, how much are you enjoying football this year with Avondale? And is it a harder kind of? Do you approach training and do you approach the games a lot harder because now there's a real expectation to perform well as opposed to just trying to survive, which has been the case the last few years?
Yeah. So I played at St Albans last year. That was my first year in Melbourne. And like you said, like the goal was last year to survive. I think the year before I came down, St Albans had quite a tough year when COVID kind of struck. So it was like that was the goal, to stay up, which we achieved in the end, which was good. But yeah, the training standards, no disrespect to St Albans, but the training standards are very high and the quality is expected and you got to perform. So just show up as much as you can, give it your all, and try and do the best you can when you're given the chance. And yeah, it seems to be working so far, so no complaints. But yeah, I'm loving it. It's great. Great coaches and awesome team. So it's good so far.
Brilliant.
And the depth of the squad there as well, Zander, is everyone sort of on their toes because you've got multiple players sort of pushing for selection each week in those positions? You've got guys coming off the bench and scoring goals every week and that sort of thing. Is that something that keeps everyone on their toes at Avondale at the moment?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's one thing, like if you would to compare it to St Albans, I think last year we had some good players, but that depth really shows through at a club like Avondale. And I think we have some fantastic players coming off the bench. Like it's always competitions for spots, so you have to be showing up, you have to be delivering. So it sets a good standard for everyone. I think you have to really put your best foot forward every game.
Yeah, and I think if you're the opposition team and you see the bench that Avondale have and the strength that they have coming off the bench, whether it's yourself, Maniaguk, Kamara, Trzeszewski, Yusei Towns, Boland, Stefan Zinni, it's a formidable forward line, isn't it, that they've got there, and hence the reason why your goal difference is so high. What makes you keep on your toes throughout the week, Zander? Obviously, with that lineup and that strength that they've got, what do you do differently to make sure that you're in that starting lineup every week?
I think Zoki might have touched on it on here last week. I think like every week you have to show up in training. I think no one's given a spot, and it doesn't matter about the past week, that's gone. And I think we set up with the best team for who's in front of us. So yeah, you got to train hard. You have to really train hard, and the standards are good. We have some really awesome coaches and strength and conditioning guys. So the training sessions you're pretty stuffed at the end of it. So you just have to show up.
Yeah, we're fast approaching the halfway mark of the season. We'll quickly have a look at the ladder, and we'll also go through some of the results. So it's round 11. We started off on Friday night, Green Gully defeating Dandenong Thunder 4-2. Heidelberg United drew with Moreland City 0-0. At yesterday's game, as we mentioned, Avondale defeated Oakleigh Cannons 4-2. North Geelong Warriors got their first win since the opening round, 1-0 win over St Albans. We've got Port Melbourne defeated Bentley Greens 2-1. And then today, South Melbourne absolutely walloped Altona Magic 5-1. And then Melbourne Knights and Hume City fought out a 1-1 draw with Hume City scoring a 95th minute goal. But Zander, look, we've seen in the Dandenong Thunder, Port Melbourne, Altona Magic, and then Hume City, a red card on each of those occasions. So that's 4 red cards in the one round. Craig's mentioned this and talked about this, and there's obviously a directive from the referees or whatever the case may be. But what's your take on it? Have the referees been a little bit, and we've got to watch what we say here, the referees been a little bit too card happy, or is it just, I don't know, reflective of the physical nature of the elite division here in Victoria?
Yeah, I think you kind of have to be careful what you
Yeah.
say, but I think there always seems to be a red card. There always seems to be a scuffle, and I think when there's a lot on the line, when there is down here in Victoria, I think it means a lot more to everybody. So there's always going to be that extra niggle in the games. But yeah, I think this year it's kind of kicked off a bit red card wise.
Yeah, it sure has. It sure has. Now, looking ahead to the week, you've got an Australia Cup game coming up on Tuesday night against Casey Comets at City Vista over at Georgie's there. Then you've got on Sunday a big game against South Melbourne. Did you watch their match against Altona this afternoon? And how does the week look when you've got the two games in the week? I suppose at least it's not until Sunday rather than a Saturday or a Friday.
Yeah, it's obviously we want to do well in the FFA Cup, but you have to kind of squeeze those games in somewhere. So it's in between some big games, but you just have to get on with it. I guess that's the schedule. But yeah, South Melbourne is a massive game for us. So I think focus on Casey first, and then hopefully get through that, and then all signs point to South. So it'll be a cracking game. I didn't actually catch their game, but I saw the result on Sports TG. So good result for them. So it'll be a good contest, I'm sure.
Question for me, number 99 on the back of your on. How has that number come about? Because obviously it's not your standard number. There's obviously a story behind it. So I'm sure those that know that you wear number 99 will be really keen on knowing why.
Yeah, I came into Avondale as probably not the biggest name on the team sheet, and thought, I'm just going to give whoever has the numbers. Like, you kind of want the 7s and the 11s, and like Zinni and Yusuf Ahmed, who are unbelievable. So you can't really take it off them. So I made the joke to some of the boys that the only number available here is 99, and it turns out that it was. So we took that.
There's a story for it. Well,
how have you settled into? Sorry, Tonch. How have you settled into life down here in Victoria? Because obviously playing up in Queensland and coming down to Victoria through that COVID, how have you settled into Melbourne now? Is this your home? Is this where you want to sort of keep playing your football?
Yeah, it's been good. It's a little bit colder than where I'm from. Kind of getting used to playing in those winter games. It was a little bit hard at the start. Copped a bit of slack for the gloves, but is what it is.
Oh, I like the gloves. They're great when you get out there with the long sleeves and the gloves, Zander.
Yeah, it became a bit of my look, but no, it's good. I really enjoy it. It's like you guys kind of touched on before. I feel like it's the pinnacle of NPL football. So everyone kind of in Queensland, if you want to kick on, you come down and play here. There's been a lot of Queenslanders come to Victoria over the years, so it's been great. Everyone's been super welcoming, and St Albans looked after me really well last year, and then same again with Avondale. So it's been good. I'll be here for the foreseeable future, hopefully kicking on with Avondale. So yeah, it feels like home down here football-wise, so I'm enjoying it.
Well, that's great news for all Avondale fans, that's for sure, and Victorian football pundits as well. Mate, wishing you all the best for the rest of the season. Let's see if Avondale can go through the season as the Invincibles. But next week, a tough game against South Melbourne. That's at the Lakeside Stadium next Sunday, 4 p.m. And it's a nice change from the usual Friday and Saturday and Saturday night games to have a Sunday afternoon game. So, mate, hopefully that'll be a big crowd, and hopefully it'll be nice weather like it was today. But all the very best to Zander, and thanks for joining us here on the Football Outlet Show.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Zander.
Thanks, Zander. Thanks for your time.
That was Zander Guy from Avondale FC. When we return, as Craig said at the start of the show, we're going to go a little bit regional, focus on some of the regional clubs that we don't get a chance to do so normally, and it's the Goulburn Valley Suns that will be taking on examining very shortly, and their coach, Craig CARLEY. He'll be joining us straight after this break, folks. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
At Guzman Finance, like you, we are passionate about the western suburbs and football. Our main passion, however, is helping customers succeed in their financial goals. As trusted mortgage brokers, we offer knowledge, personalised service, and access to hundreds of loan products from Australia's leading lenders. If you're in the market for buying your first home, looking for a better interest rate on your mortgage, renovating your home, or buying an investment property, my team and I will help you manage the process from start to finish. Avoid costly mistakes and expensive loan products. Contact our office on 9369 6805 or 0425 826 055.
Welcome back to the Football Out West show, gents. We've got our next guest ready to go, and we're looking forward to that. Craig, would you like to do the introductions?
I certainly will. Yeah, it's a good pleasure. He's a good friend of mine. We do speak quite often. He's a coach that has gone and come back, and he's doing some great things up there in regional Shepparton. It's the head coach of Golden Valley Suns, Craig CARLEY. Mr. CARLEY, good afternoon to you, or good evening. How are you?
Good, gents. How are you?
Very good.
Very good.
Very good. Craig, welcome back, because we've had you on the show many, many times before. And I think the last time we had you on the show, it was a case of, Goulburn Valley struggling in NPL 2. But this year, NPL 3, things are starting to look a lot smoother, a lot better. Is it just purely just dropping down a level, or is it that things off the field and on the field at the Suns are starting to really, gel and improve? What's your summation of this early part of the season so far?
Yeah, look, I certainly think it's a combination of both. There's no secrets into the fact that we've had a really big board change this year. Last season for the club was an absolute disaster, and I actually took a step back halfway through the season because it just went against everything I believed in what was going on. So, yeah, it was difficult to see for the club, but thankfully we've got a new board on board that are really driving the club forward, and it's just been massive for the area and football in the region at the moment. So, kudos to the new board. They're doing amazing things both on and off the pitch. So it's brilliant to hear.
And fair play to you. It was for those that don't know, obviously Craig left and went and put on his boots on, and you don't see many players of 45 getting their boots back on. So kudos to you, mate.
There should be more of it.
Steve, sorry.
Now, actually, I'll change my question. Can you tell us a little bit about your return to your playing glory days and how you enjoyed that and the challenges of that for some of us who are, getting it to the wrong end of that time frame?
Yeah, look, you always miss sort of playing football. I try and join in as much as I can at training now, and the mind certainly the mind knows what I want to do. The body's not quite there at the moment, so. It was really good to get back and just play local football last season at Shepparton South, who are quite a big club in the regional area. They play in the Bendigo Amateur League up here, and I think I ended up scoring 12 goals in 8 games. I think I scored in every game I played in. We ended up losing the grand final on penalties, but look, a really, really successful season for the club. So, again, that's just trying to combine all the local clubs too, and really get that support and backing, and really drive the quality forward for the GV Suns ultimately as a proven pathway to a higher level of competition.
Craig.
Now, you've obviously come in this year and brought in some new players to help you get back to NPL2, which I would imagine is the goal for you as a coach, and certainly from a club's perspective with the facilities you've got up there, you deserve to be in higher than NPL3. So, just talk us through some of the signings that you've brought in this year and what effect those players have had on the squad.
Yeah, definitely. I think the key for me was to get back the boys that have sort of held the club in really good stead over the last couple of years. So Greg Nash was one of them, Jamie England, Adam Gatcombe. They were all really key signings for me, and boys that I've worked with for many, many years. So, they were key and the vocal point of the team. And then obviously, again, it's no secret, we rely quite heavily on our imports to come in and, top up a bit of quality as well. And the boys we've got in, we've done a lot of work this year to make sure that we did get the correct balance. And the boys that we have got in have been top draw. So, yeah, it certainly helps. I think even though it was a disaster of a season last year, it was also great to see some of those younger boys get that experience too. So them coming back from a year of senior football, I think has held them in good stead too. So, we're starting to see some youngsters really rise through the senior ranks. Not every kid's going to go on to the pathway of a Garang qual or an Elo qual. But, if we can get kids from NPL 3 going to play NPL 1, that's still success for us. And we would push absolutely any kid to take that next step to play at a high level.
And we'll touch on that in a moment. But how hard is it? Sorry, Steve. How hard is it to get players into regional Victoria? Because
Good question.
a week is a 2.5 hour drive for you, 3.5 in some instances in the southeast. How hard is that as a club to try and get those players to come and play?
Yeah, look, it's virtually impossible in this day and age. Any player that does want to come here requires quite a high level of financial remuneration. It's very time consuming. So we've gone completely against that. Correct. We've gone completely against that, and I'm a firm believer in developing players from within our club. We are we've got a community feel about us where, for example, today I was at the club opening up. I was watching the under 18s, our under 14s, under 15s were away in Mornington today. But when it's a day when they're all there on a Sunday, I'll be there watching all the kids. All the kids know me, all the kids know the senior players, and we want that vibe going all the way through the club. So, building within is, it's a non-negotiable for us. It's an absolute necessity. So, yeah, the club in the past have obviously got players coming in from metro areas. But yeah, look, I'm a firm believer that the club's in the region for a reason, and we need to give that opportunity to the local talent in the area.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like it a lot, Craig. And it raises a lot of questions, but we're due to run through the weekend scores. And your guys, the Goulburn Valley Suns, 1-0 winners against Caroline Springs, George Cross yesterday at home. Also a 1-0 win for Doveton over Essendon. Good win, 4-1 for Burundara Carey Eagles over a fellow regional team, Ballarat City. Bow Morris 2-1 over Box Hill United. Another regional team, Geelong, they couldn't get the result at home despite they've been going quite well, but they went down 2-0 to Nunawading City. And then the Melbourne Victory Academy 3-2 over North Sunshine Eagles in that clash featuring first versus second. The only teams higher than you guys on the table. How did you see the game yesterday, Craig? Caroline Springs, George Cross, a difficult opponent at the best of times, and albeit, someone who's been promoted from State 1, they've still got a pretty deep squad. And how did you prepare for that game, and how did you see that from your eyes in getting the 1-0 win?
Yeah, look, very, very even game. Caroline Springs, obviously a very good side with a lot of quality there as well. I think they missed a chance quite early on, but then I think we stepped up and come into the game a fair bit. We certainly done our research on them. I'm an absolute, when I do my stuff, I'm just all in. So, I've watched their last 3 or 4 games, and we knew where we could sort of penetrate them, and we did. But Eric's got one hell of a squad there. And I think they were certainly our hardest game of the season to date, and they'll certainly lift up the table. I've got no questions about that.
Yeah, we've only gone 7 games, I guess, and it's still early days. And as you said, you meticulously do your research. And obviously, at the moment, Melbourne Victory sort of streaking away. They're undefeated. But is if we take a look at the ladder again, is that kind of a fair summary at this point in time of where the teams should be? Is there one of the teams sort of mid-table at the moment that probably are underperforming at the moment? We can expect them to improve as the season progresses. What's your kind of take on all of this, Craig?
Yeah, certainly. I think Essendon Royals and Caroline Springs, once they find their feet in NPL 3, will start lifting up the table. Their squads are too good to be sitting where they currently are. So, I certainly think come second half of the season, they'll be pushing on a fair bit. So, yeah, look, it's for me personally, I think there's a fair bit of difference in terms of quality from NPL 2 to NPL 3. I think it's a little bit more direct in NPL 3. So, the games where we've lost, where we've certainly been in control of them, it's down to moments at crucial times, balls being bombed into our box and not being able to deal with it. And, I certainly think that that's the difference. Whereas the higher up the NPL you go, the quality's a lot better, the game's a lot quicker. So, I personally think that we play better against the better footballing sides.
Yeah.
And that's why I enjoyed the game so much yesterday. And it was just a brilliant spectacle to be a part of on the side. It was end to end, but there was a fair bit of quality on the pitch too. So, yeah, look, it's, you're obviously going to have the quality of Melbourne Victory. And they're the games that you actually want to play in, So we've got a very important run the next 4 games. So, I think we've got Nunawading, North Sunshine, Geelong, and then Melbourne Victory. So that takes us to the halfway mark, and then that'll give us a true reflection of where we're at, whether we're going to be pushing those top 2-3 spots or whether we're going to be battling as a mid-table team.
Now, just touched on you touched on it, the Qual brothers earlier on. Obviously, I don't want to go back a few years, but obviously those kids have come through for those that don't know, they've come through the Golden Valley Suns Academy there from a young age. I remember taking a group of players up there, 2016, I think, and the oldest Qual was playing then in the under. I think he was playing in the reserves, but he was like 14 or 15 years old. Obviously, you've had a big part to play in their development, and along with coaches at the club. Do you still keep in contact with them? Are they still, obviously, parents are still around the club? Is there anybody else coming through the system that we need to keep an eye on? Have they got a sister somewhere or a half brother somewhere playing that you don't know about?
No, there's plenty of them coming through. I actually bumped into Marwin, the dad's, during the week, and he asked me for an electrician's number, but that's a different story. But no, I had a good chat with him. You know, he's still in the region. He's one of the hardest workers I know. You know, and not a lot of people know that he goes and milks cows before he goes to his daytime job. You know, he's just phenomenal what he does. And, you know, I said to him, how's Antoinette getting up? How's she getting on up in Sydney now? Because Tang, who's the middle brother of the three, is, you know, he's at Western Sydney at the moment. So, you know, I said, just bring him down. We'll sign him for the second half of the season. But they're looking to relocate back to the region as well. So that means that we get Diddy, Cooley and Qual as well. You know, they're the youngsters that are really coming through. You know, they're the real young ones at the moment that you just see kicking the ball absolutely everywhere. And for me, that's the difference. You know, if they're doing that at such a young age, they're just they've got that little bit of class, a little bit of quality to hopefully develop and, you know, follow in the footsteps of their brothers too.
And Craig, does it seem like the other youngsters around the club and the academy are, you know, inspired by these, they are inspiring stories? Do you see players, you know, lifting because they can see that pathway, they can see what's there, and they can see that excellence that's been achieved from within the club, but also from a point of view of affordability with getting players in an area that's not known for being like one of the higher socioeconomic areas in the state. Is that a challenge as well to get the best players in and the prices and making sure that we don't miss any talent?
Yeah, definitely. You know, the cost of football in this country is ridiculous. We don't discriminate against any kid. If any kid wants to play and is good enough to play for the GV Suns, they'll play and we'll find a way. You know, that's one thing that the board have come on board and certainly made sure of. So someone will sponsor if someone can't pay. You know, and that's one of the true values that I love about this club is that's their way of giving back to the community. You know, we've got some quite wealthy backers who put money in the correct way. It doesn't go into the seniors. You know, we would still have probably the lowest, if not one of the lowest budgets in NPL 3. And again, you know, that's what we aspire to be. But you can certainly see there's been a shift in the attitude of some of the youngsters that do come through. I'll quite often just drive past the ground, only live 2 minutes away from it, and you'll see some of the under 18s at the moment. You know, they're there almost every day, just doing extra. You know, and that's just the difference. That's what you used to see with the Qual kids, and you know that's starting to filter through now. So, you know, I think we're setting some really good standards. You know, again, I was really impressed to see James Neuenhausen pick up an A-League winners medal on the weekend. You know, another youngster that sort of come through the club. So, yeah, look, hopefully we can get a few more in years to come. And as I said, success doesn't have to be playing for Australia. Success can be from leaving us and going and playing NPL 2 or NPL 1. And again, we welcome that with open arms, and we'll push any kid that wants to play at a high level.
That is so great to hear. And let's turn our attention now to the immediate future this weekend coming. Let's look at the fixtures for round 8 in NPL 3. Box Hill United hosting Doveton on Friday. Then on Saturday, we've got Nunawading City at home to Melbourne Victory, a big game there. Geelong at hosting Burundara Carey Eagles. Caroline Springs George Cross at home to Bow Morris. And Essendon Rules at home to Ballarat City. But the big one, they're at Larissa Reserve, North Sunshine Eagles taking on Goulburn Valley Suns. That's 3 p.m. kickoff. In a nutshell, Craig, it's a tough place to visit, but what are you expecting from the big game against North Sunshine Eagles?
Oh, look, a tough game. You know, they're a very well-drilled side. I watched their game this afternoon against Melbourne Victory. Yeah, very attacking side, some good players. So again, these are the challenges that we want. This is why we coach. This is why we play football. So yeah, really looking forward to it, to be honest.
Do we know?
And are you travelling down for the Australia Cup on Tuesday night as well against Laylaw United? Just a big, just another quiet week at the office for you guys.
Yeah. No, it'll be good. And again, it gives us an opportunity to play some of the boys that probably haven't got as many minutes lately. Again, we entered a competition to do our very best and go as far as we can. So we will be taking quite a strong squad as well. But we'll be trying to break in a few of the younger boys too at the same time. So yeah, really looking forward to that too.
Awesome.
Excellent.
On that note, mate, all the very best, and thank you for joining us here. It's going to be a busy week ahead, but that's the way we like it, isn't it? That's semi-professional football, bordering on professional.
Certainly is. Thanks, gents. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Great chat. Thanks, Craig.
Great. CARLEY from the Goulburn Valley Suns, and that's one of the other pitfalls of being a regional club, the amount of travel that you have to do into the metropolitan zones.
Oh, for them, it's horrendous, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's
2.5, 3 hour trip just in one direction.
Every other weekend and twice this weekend. It's a big ask for players that are working jobs out on building sites and then have to travel to Melbourne for a game of football, not probably getting back till midnight. Big ask.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to take a very quick break. When we return, we're going to have a very, very quick look at NPL 2 competition, something that Craig's very familiar with. And then we're also going to return back to the NPL Victoria because we've got our third and final guest about to join us, and that's the North Geelong Warriors coach, TOMI GAVRAN, who enjoyed his first win under his leadership there at Oakleigh Park. Folks, don't go away. It's the Football Out West show. It's our pleasure to have your company tonight.
Welcome to Anytime Fitness in Werribee.
The club with the most supportive, welcoming and friendliest members and staff.
Whether you're a first-timer, gym goer or just an everyday person, we are here for you.
A recently renovated facility offers you everything you need to get started with your health and fitness goals.
Our club offers brand new state-of-the-art cardio equipment, an amazing functional zone for group classes, a lifting zone, and really does cater for every single person. So don't miss out. Come see us in club before April 30th to redeem this offer.
Welcome back to the Football Out West show. Steve was popping out there. We've got you back very quickly.
Wow, that was right on cue. Just had to pick up the phone from the charger, but all good. Hello, no.
Pick up here on the way through, Steve, or?
Oh, no, I might have to see if Kate could bring one in maybe for our last guest. I'm sure Tommy would approve us having a quiet beverage on a Sunday night while we're doing the show. He's got to go to sleep, I think, soon. We have to get him on soon.
We will. Before we do get our next guest on, we're going to very, very quickly have a look at the NPL 2 competition, Craig, a competition you're very familiar with for obvious reasons. But very quickly, Preston Lions, they've got their game against Bulleen Lions tomorrow night at the Veneto Club. They can steer 3 points clear and with a good goal difference as well, something you'd expect them to. But Bulleen Lions are a tough team. At the moment, as we can see there, some very interesting results from the weekend. But let's start off with Werribee City defeating Brunswick City 2-1 at Costa Park on the weekend. Things are really starting to click there at Werribee City.
Is that to me, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was joking.
That's enough rope for Craig Filer there.
Look, Tonch, as you said, it's a very, very difficult league. You look at anything really from 10th up to 4th, a win, and you could be as high as 4th or as low as 10th in the league. It's a very, very tough league. But from a Werribee point of view, look, we're starting to hit our strides. We brought 21 players into the club at the start of the season out of 23. Obviously, that takes time for everybody to gel and understand the way that we want to play and expectations that we have for everybody. But look, the last couple of weeks has been really really positive for us, and we'll hopefully take that into next weekend's game.
Excellent. Well, good luck for next week, Craig. But running through the other fixtures, results that took place on the weekend, which was match day 11. Also on Friday night, a win on the road for Manningham United Blues, 2-1 over Moreland Zebras. Also on Friday night, actually, Northcote City 3-0 winners against Dandenong City. On Saturday, it was Lang Warren 1, Melbourne City 5. Eastern Lions a 1-0 win against Pascoe Vale, so a big win for Eastern Lions, and a big win for Kingston City, 1-0 over the Western United side. And yeah, looking forward to that big fixture tomorrow night, the Lion Derby, Bulleen Lions against Preston Lions.
Yeah, and then if you look further afield to next week, Dandenong City hosting Bulleen Lions, so not a big turnaround. That's Friday night at the Frank Holohan Soccer Complex. Same thing with the Preston Lions. They'll be coming up against the Eastern Lions. Geez, all these Lions in NPL 2 competition.
This is the Lions League, I think. It's no longer the Chaos League. It's now the Lions League.
That's right. Pascoe Vale at home to Brunswick City, a very important game for Pascoe Vale, also on Friday night. And then a fourth Friday night game, Langwarrin taking on Werribee City down at Lawton Park Reserve. On Saturday, Manningham United Blues taking on Kingston, which is the only Saturday game. How weird is that? And then on Sunday, Western United taking on Northcote City out at City Vista Sports Field, and then Melbourne City taking on Brunswick Juventus. That is going to be, well, the bottom of the cellar dwellers, but Melbourne City, they're certainly headed on the way up, and that's for sure. It's a chaos league, we call it, but I tell you what, it is a very, very interesting league. But we're now going to return back to the NPL competition, NPL Victoria competition. Craig, yourself and myself, we had an opportunity yesterday to call the game out at North Geelong, the traditional Croatian derby between two teams that are really struggling at the moment, North Geelong Warriors and St Albans Saints. And it was an own goal in the 8th minute that separated the two sides, and that enabled our next guest to get his maiden victory as the coach of the North Geelong Warriors. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome TOMI GAVRAN before he nods off and goes to sleep. TOMI, good evening, and thank you for joining us here on the Football Out West show.
Good evening, gents. Thanks for having me. Good to see you all again.
Good evening, Tom. Thanks for coming on.
TOMI.
Now, Tom, first of all, are you the interim coach, or are you now being made the permanent coach at Alco Park, because there's been no other movement as far as other coaches? Is it official?
You put me on the spot. First question, Taunchy.
We ask the hard questions here at the Football Out West show.
That's how he does it.
Yeah. We're just seeing how things progress at the moment. I've had the full support of the club thus far, and things seem to be going pretty well. So we're just nutting out a few things in the background, and hopefully there'll be an announcement sooner rather than later.
Well, listen, congratulations on getting your first win yesterday against St Albans, and I know you've had a good result last week up at Heidelberg, and the week before that were unfortunate to miss out on a result with a penalty in the last minute that didn't go your way. So obviously since taking over, what have you done differently? Because obviously the club was leaking goals left, right and centre with the greatest respect, and obviously the last 3 games have been a little bit tighter, and obviously getting the 1-0 win yesterday, I saw a side yesterday that just defended for their lives and did the job that they had to do yesterday, which probably hasn't happened throughout the season. So what have you done that's been different?
Obviously trying to stamp my own, I suppose, stamp on things, I guess. It's funny that you mentioned the defensive side of things, because we were leaking far too many goals, and the first probably 2 weeks that I was in charge was solely focused on getting a bit of defensive shape, getting that right, basically. So I've got my own little, I suppose, philosophy on how I'd like teams to defend. And like I said, the first couple of weeks was purely based on, on us defending in a block at times, defending, from the front at times, nice and high. Just sort of keeping to our channels and being disciplined. So I definitely focused on that the first couple of weeks. I do like teams to play. The teams that I've coached in the past, I do like us to play, and I've tried to give the boys some confidence to do that. I believe that at full strength we've got a squad that's good enough to stay in the league and compete. So it's about trying to instill that confidence in the players to for them to believe that they can play. Because I think if you go into games, defensive minded, and if the boys think that you don't think that they're good enough, then I think they're going to believe that they're not good enough. So I'm just trying to instill a bit of confidence in the boys, and defend from the front at times. And like you said, have focused a bit on our defensive shape as well.
And Tommy, you were probably getting closer to a win, like particularly last week with the 1-1 up at Heidelberg on the Friday night as well, picking up a point there, then getting the 3 points on the weekend. What was the most pleasing aspect of the performance yesterday, in your opinion?
Like you said, I think we've been building. The result was coming, so I think the most pleasing aspect was that it was sort of, like I said to Tonchi yesterday, it was validation of what we have been working on. So each week that's gone past, we've sort of been playing better and better and been more and more competitive out in the pitch. So the most pleasing aspect was the boys getting their sort of, just rewards and really getting a result that they deserved and that the whole club deserved as well. So yeah, like you said, we have been building, and we've gone from conceding 7 in my first game in charge to sort of winning the cup game against Altona City midweek after that, and then conceding 3 against Knights, 2 against Dandy, 1 against Heidelberg, and then 0 yesterday. So that was probably the most pleasing aspect, is just that validation that we're on the right track.
Yeah. Now, just before you came on the camera, Tommy, we had Craig CARLEY, the coach of the Goulburn Valley Suns, and he made a really good point about the predicament that a lot of regional clubs are faced with, and that is finance and attracting and subsequently attracting quality players. Now, you're Melbourne-based, so you travel to Geelong, as do some of the boys there, and I guess Geelong isn't as far to Melbourne as Goulburn Valley, as Shepparton is. But obviously, North Geelong has that problem. It hasn't got the budget of some of the bigger clubs. It's not able to attract players. So this year you've relied a lot on in-house players and bringing up some of the youth, and just some of the names that have, rose to the fore this year. Kai Williams, Luke Zivcic, Rocca Ramage. Oh, I love that name, Rocca Ramage. Marko Juric. And there was a young fella called Spencer Hand from the under-21s on the bench yesterday. He didn't make his debut, but a fella that did make his debut, Mark Gudasic, came on in the 90th minute. How's the attitude of these young players been? And they seem to be, a lot of them, very, very young. And Juric, for example, 16 years of age, Ramage 17, Zivcic 17. They're very, very raw. They're very, very young. How good are they? Or are they just being given an opportunity, or are they actually really deserving of their place in the 11? Another tough question.
Jeez, a long one, boy. You told you
that's a long question too.
A long question. Answer any one of those 5 questions he asked.
Yeah. War and Peace is just being read out.
I like to paint the picture first, and then let.
That's fun. Does the show finish?
10:30.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's North Geelong are sort of notorious at the moment for having a bit of a production line at that junior level. As you're probably aware, they've made Division 1 in all the NPL sides from 14s up to 18s, and obviously the 21s are fairly competitive at the moment as well. So it's only natural that we try and progress them through to the seniors, because that's what we rely on and we depend on. As you said, we can't compete with some of the big boys, but having said that, we're not a club that is threadbare, and we've got a lot of support from the local Croatian community in particular, and also the Geelong community. But yeah, to answer your question, they are good enough. Obviously, you need to sort of pick and choose, the moments that you give them some minutes. You do give them their debuts. We're sort of starting to get a few, players back now, and we're starting to get back to full strength. So, some of them got their debuts by sort of design, I guess, because of the fact that we needed some players to step up. But yeah, there's some really good talent there. The names that you mentioned, some of them haven't even got their P's yet. They're still sort of getting lifts in with their parents. So it's really good. I think the other week there was about a 3-week period that my whole bench was under 20, I think under 19.
Yeah.
From 16 to 17 up to 18 or 19. So. Some really good kids. Most of them do train with us on a regular basis. So there's about 4 or 5 of the names that you mentioned earlier train with us pretty much all the time. And then the likes of Marko Juric and Spencer Hand, sort of, I bring them up when I need them. But Luke Zivcic, Rocca, Mark Gudasic, the guys that you mentioned, they all train regularly with the first team, which they obviously benefit from.
Now, you mentioned there. Sorry, Tons, you mentioned there that your players are coming back. That's been a key for you. Obviously, George Ellis missing a big part with his shoulder, and obviously Lockie McGrath now coming back in as well. Does it, it's clearly going to make a difference now to your selection and how you set up going forward. You know, you brought Lockie McGrath on yesterday to give a bit of legs in that middle of the park when it was starting to sort of push towards St Albans having a bit of a run. And, you know, you've got the likes of Nikola Jurkovic in the middle of the park, who was went down about 5 times with cramp in the second half yesterday afternoon. So how key is it to get those players back on the field?
What are you implying there, Craig? Nicola won't be happy with that comment. So
I told him after the game, yeah, he needs to drink some more fluids.
He's as hard as nails.
He had a fantastic game, by the way, yesterday.
Yeah.
He was.
I'm glad he's on my side and not the opposition, mate. So,
did he run as much as you walked up and down the touchline? No, that's my next question, because if you had a GPS tracker on yesterday, I reckon you'd done about 13 Ks.
Yeah, I got a few blisters on my feet as a result. But to answer your question, it's good. We're starting to get some of our key players back. We went through probably about a 6-week period where we had upwards of 6 or 7 players out from our first team squad, and that really impacts your depth, obviously, at this level. When you get promoted, your depth is, will get tested. I mean, any team will get tested if they've got that many injuries, but obviously when you get promoted, you sort of can't afford to lose that amount of players. But the last probably 3 weeks in particular, and especially the last 2, I've had a bit more consistency with the lineup, in both formation and in personnel as well. Bringing Georgie Ellis back into the fold has been really, really good. We've obviously missed a few players through suspension at different times as well. But yeah, we almost back at full strength now with minus a couple of boys that are still coming back from injury. But yeah, bringing the likes of Lockie McGrath off the bench is a bit of a luxury too. So he'll definitely be pushing for a first 11 spot over the next few weeks, as well as Nelson Salvatore, who missed a couple of weeks through food poisoning, would you believe? He pulled out on the morning of the Melbourne Knights game on Easter Monday, and we haven't seen him since, up until yesterday was the first time we'd seen him. He trained a couple of times this week as well. So, we're definitely, like I said at the start, I think at full strength, we can compete with most teams in this league.
Well, hopefully, Nelson's feeling better and he's back on deck soon. But have the boys and yourself been watching Noah Skoko over there in the UEFA Youth League, getting all the way to the final with his under-19 side with Hajduk Split, and getting a bit of inspiration from that you can apply on the pitch at Elko Park, perhaps?
Yeah, I think some of the boys have been watching it. I know they showed the semi-final live at the Croatian club down at Separation Street last week. So I think a few boys got up early to watch that. I've been sort of just tracking the results. I didn't have the pleasure of coaching Noah because I wasn't at the club last year, but from all reports, he was a star at his age of 16 or 17 at senior level. He was, a creative force in NPL too. So. And obviously, he's kicked on to sort of bigger things and has represented the national team over there as well. So, it's always nice to, produce players from your club.
Now, Tommy, you mentioned before yesterday's result was a validation of a lot of the hard work you've been doing recently. And you also mentioned to me after the game yesterday, sometimes you need that validation to get your confidence up. And that's something that's slowly been building the last few weeks. Now, mate, you're going to need that confidence going into next Friday's game because it's going to be a tough one. Oakleigh Cannons, but look, the season isn't made just from one game and one result, and Oakleigh Cannons are a little bit wounded at the moment. But if we have a look at that ladder, I mean, I tell you what, a couple of good results, and you could shoot right up into a mid-table position. What do you do now going into this game that's a real tough one, but the boys 4 points from the last 2 games, anything's possible. Anything's possible when the momentum shifts. What are you looking at doing mainly this week in training?
I'll have a look at Oakleigh's game when I get a chance. I'll sort of spend today looking at our game from yesterday. So over the next couple of days, I'll have a look at Oakleigh's game against Avondale, and probably I tend to watch 2 games as well just to see if there's anything different from the week before, as opposed to just the previous week's opposition. But yeah, like I said earlier, I try to instill confidence in our boys as much as possible, and our change room is a real positive one at the moment. It's a real healthy change room. The attitude of all the boys is second to none at the moment, and there's a real camaraderie amongst the boys at the moment, and that shows in the way that they're playing at the moment, and even our GPS figures are really good at the moment too. We're sort of smashing our stats through the roof the last few weeks. So yeah, it's just about giving them confidence. We don't want to go in there with a negative mindset. Like I said earlier, I think if you go into the game with a negative mindset and try and defend from the first minute, it's pretty hard to keep out a team like Oakleigh for the whole game. So we're definitely going to try and get on the front foot. I'll see what sort of weaknesses they have and where I think we can exploit them. And it's about giving the boys the tools. The right tools, and then them making the right decision for the moment that presents themselves. So, when it's on to play out, I want our boys to play out, if it presents itself, if it's, a bit difficult to do so because they're applying a bit of, front pressure on us, then, we will go direct at times. But we've really made a point recently to try and play in the opposition's half a lot more than our own. And we need to, sort of concentrate on getting as many entries into the box. And yesterday was a good example of that, they got an early ball in, and we've sort of been focusing on getting a few more balls and bodies into the box, during the game. And I think we've probably created more chances in the last probably 3 or 4 weeks than we did in the previous, 6 or 7 games.
That was clear yesterday. Tommy said in the commentary that there was a certain way that you were trying to get down that left-hand side or the right-hand side of St Albans yesterday with the diagonal balls and Steve Fidel and I think who was it? Matthew Stubbs on that left hand side, and it certainly did you very well for the majority of the game. But as Tonchi said, then it's Oakleigh Cannons next week, and then the tough one. They don't come. There's no easy games in this league. Is there Oakleigh Cannons, South Melbourne, and Bentley and Port Melbourne? The next 4. But look, rest assured, buddy, if they put a performance like they did in yesterday and they work as hard as they did yesterday, the results will continue to come, and we'll see Geelong start to get up that table. I have no doubt. It was a tough day yesterday to watch, but hey, 3 points is all that mattered yesterday. So congratulations.
That's all that matters.
Congratulations on
Absolutely.
that win, mate. And I hope you guys can start getting up that table.
No, thank you. Yeah, I think the boys deserve a little bit more credit than it was a tough watch yesterday, because I think the boys have been playing some nice football at times, and like I said, we're trying to play football and not just play for the result. And I've been really pumping performance over result, and with performances comes result, and you can sometimes you can sort of get a result once every few weeks if you're just playing for the result, but it's not a long-term solution. So I'm trying to rectify the way we play so that it's a bit more sustainable, so that performances like yesterday and the week before aren't just a fluke and a coincidence. They're actually we've worked on it, and it's actually, like I said, validated and justified. So we'll go into this week's game full of confidence, and that's my job to instill that confidence, and we'll have a good week on the track, and we've got the cup game the week, the Tuesday after that too, so a big 10 days coming up.
Big 10 days, yeah. And look, at the end of the day, the result yesterday was a very, very positive one, and that can be season defining sometimes when you look back at it. But either way, the next few weeks are going to be very, very difficult, very tough. But it seems that finally things are starting to move in the right direction at Alco Park. So Tommy, we wish you and the Warriors all the very best. I'm biased, obviously, but we do need a team outside of Melbourne in the NPL Victoria competition, and at the moment that's a team from Geelong, so let's keep it that way. Good on you, Tommy. Thanks for joining us this week on the Football Out West show.
Thank you for having me, and hope to see you all soon.
Thanks, Tommy. Thanks, matey.
Thanks, Tommy. Good luck, mate. All the best.
A real gentleman of a bloke. He's he's very fit because, as you said, Craig, he clocked up quite a few Ks pacing up and down the sidelines there. That's for sure. Gents, I think that really brings us now to the end of our program. Thanks, guys, for being with us tonight. Thank you to everyone who's joined us tonight and stayed with us, and thank you to everyone who's been very, very active on the chat, in the comments section. we do appreciate your
Absolutely.
interactive approach to the show.
Just one for me,
Guys.
Tons, just before we do go, and it's never nice to see anybody have a career-threatening injury, especially when it's playing in the over 35s. But big shout out to Cam Dahl from Point Cook Soccer Club, who had a nasty break from a horrific tackle on Friday night, and you don't like to see that at any age, but specifically when you're getting on in years. So wish Cam all the very best over there at Point Cook, and hope he gets a quick recovery.
Yeah, get well.
Good. All right, folks, thank you very much for joining us. We had so many guests. We weren't able to get through everything we wanted to get through, but hopefully next week we'll be able to tackle some of the leagues that we don't normally get a chance to cover. But in the meantime, have a great week, and we'll enjoy your company again next week on the Football Out West show next Sunday night at 8 p.m. Good night, and thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night.